So what's your name and what's the name of the exhibit?
My name is Sarah Orozco and the exhibit is Eroticism Is.
And tell us a little bit about the exhibit. What can people expect to find?
So the exhibit is a series of cut paper skeletons in the style of papel picado, which is a Mexican cut paper art that is put up at parties, only I've done them a lot larger than they normally appear, about maybe 12 by 12, but these are maybe 3 by 4 feet each.
Yeah, they're quite large. And tell us a little bit about your inspiration.
So I just, all the energy of the Latino culture, Mexican and other Latinos, is something that I grew up with and that I was missing a lot for a while when I moved away from my family. And I wanted to bring that energy and that color back and put it in art. And also I've just, I lived in Seattle for a long time, and when I was there I felt a lot of heaviness from what's going on in the world with the environment, politics, everything going on. And what came out of it is that I decided I wanted to be making art and promoting things that were about love and celebration and just joy, because there's so much of that that I think that's what I wanted to focus on.
I really love that. As far as creating a piece, what's your process?
Well, first I'm just playing with the ideas, and I like to do super quick sketches, little 10-sec. I do the messiest scribbled stick figures, basically, and then I make a series of little stick figures, and then I make a mini piece. There's actually some of them in the exhibit, so some of them are in the entrance, little 12-inch by 12-inch pieces. That are mini versions of what I'll turn into a larger piece.
And do you use like multiple, like how do you, I guess my question is like, how do you create it? Do you use multiple pieces of paper? Because a lot of it is paper art, correct?
Right, and it's all, each piece is just one piece of paper. So I think you can see this one behind me. That's 6 feet by 4 feet, and it's all one piece of paper. So sometimes I actually have to sit on the artwork when I'm making it because it's too big for me to reach over it, and it's kind of delicate, so I have to be really careful. But I lay out this big sheet of paper, and then I do the sketch, and I mark out all of the main shapes, and I have to decide early on what are like the main aspects of the skeleton, what's going to be a positive and what's going to be a negative. And then from there, I don't plan out every other little detail of the positives or negatives, but that's something that I work out as I go along. And sometimes I get stumped because like some of these chickens, you know, I need to keep the balance of making it visually balanced with the positives and negatives, not losing details, especially at this scale, when there's so much busyness in the piece. So I'm pretty careful about that, but it's fun because the art of cutting can seem repetitive if you're just cutting and cutting for hours, but it's really not, because I'm continuously challenged to figure out, okay, how am I going to make this part of the design stand out still and not get lost?
Yeah, I'm just looking at like the little squares, and I'm like, I would probably drive myself insane trying to do that. So I'm really impressed. As far as like, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know I saw a little, there's a little paragraph up on the wall that's about your grandma. Can you tell us a little bit how that plays into it?
Oh, yes. So, yeah, the story for this piece is actually inspired by my abuelitos, my grandparents, and they're born in Mexico, so in the state of Michoacan, which actually happens to mean place of the fishermen, which is great because now I've moved to Ketchikan, and so all this is coming back to me fresh, my own family's place. And yeah, they were from Michoacan, and they actually immigrated illegally back in the 60s to the U.S. They've since become citizens, and my grandpa was a farmer, so there's some corn here, and he had a donkey, and so there's this true story of he was standing there with his donkey and my abuelita, they were very young when this happened. He would call novia, novia, which means girlfriend, and she pretended to be annoyed with this, but she loved it secretly because he was, you know, he was flirting with her. So she'd walk by multiple times, she said, several minutes later, and he would call out again, and she would stomp off, "Don't call me novia." And then she'd come back a couple minutes later, and they're still together.
So that's like dating before Tinder apps. Before
Yes,
dating apps.
back
like
in the day, you had your corn and donkeys.
I love that. So just to wrap things up, I know you have an artist talk coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, so the demonstration, that's going to be fun. So the first part of it is going to be a little discussion, and that's not going to be aired live anywhere. It's going to be just private between me and the people who are there. I want there to be I think this is a great space with the artwork for people to feel really open to share and talk about sensuality and intimacy and things that we might not usually talk about with our friends. But this is a very lighthearted, easy environment to do that, and hopefully, you know, spread some joy and love through that conversation. And then after that, it'll, I believe, be aired live on Facebook, and that'll be a hands-on cutting for the people who attend. And so I'll be giving them little cutting mats, an X-Acto knife, and a piece of paper, and we'll all do a little bit of cutting together.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to wrap things up. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Sarah, and beautiful, beautiful work.
Thank you. Thank you so much.